gently down.
Hello and welcome back. Today we're at week 20 of the series. That will cover days 126 to 132. Or if you have the edition of the Road Rising that follows the calendar, then you'll be looking at May the 6th to May the 12th. The next few days following the pilgrim's encounter with Jake are among the most pleasant of the journey. There's nothing like knowing there's an angel nearby, watching over you to make your days enjoyable. He's struck first by the beauty of the high country, and then delighted to discover the abundance to be found down in the forest. He spends the night in the hollowed-out trunk of a giant sequoia tree, and wonders at the root system that once supported that huge thing. The forest is full of life, he finds, and marvels at the way a baby deer is protected, and how coming across a hive of honeybees can result in a feast fit for a king. And then one night, friend hears the sound of someone coming toward his camp. It's a happy reunion, though, when he learns that it's Ralph, one of his friends from Rendezvous. They catch up on the news, and then Ralph tells friend why he's been in a hurry to catch up with him. He, too, met with Jake, the angel, and he's been given a mission. Let me read about that encounter from day 132, May the 12th. It was good to see Ralph again and to hear of his journey since we had parted at the last rendezvous. He had elected to remain behind in case the demon army we had encountered decided to try and attack us from the rear. They had not returned, undoubtedly because they knew we were prepared for them, and because of the divine protection which had kept them at bay while all the travelers were together. I confessed to being a little uneasy alone on the trail, however, and Ralph agreed. Yeah, it's one thing to stand shoulder to shoulder with fellow believers and go against an army of uglies, but out here, alone, it's not always so easy to be brave. It's good to see you, friend, in more ways than one. Same here, I smiled. And boy, do I have a treat for you. Holding up the cooking pot still half filled with honey, he took a whiff and threw off his backpack. Where did you get that? He exclaimed. Just over there, I said. Cost me a few stings, but it was worth it, especially now that I can boast about it to someone. Ralph demonstrated the admirable ability for biscuit making, and even though I had finished dinner, this was too good to pass up. Finally, over honey-sweetened coffee, we sat back, stirred the coals, and enjoyed the silence of the evening. Not to be critical, I began, half teasing, half serious. I understood that you were to be the last to leave camp. I took off before several folks, and none of them has passed me. Is there a change in marching order? Yeah, some of them decided to stay at the top of the ridge and build a fortress, Ralph said, sadly shaking his head. I only hope that they come to their senses before it's too late. Then he looked at me with a smile. Some at the ridge were packing up to leave, though, thanks to what you shared with them. That was a great thing you did. It took courage, in fact. That's why I've been walking day and night, passing folks up. I've been trying to catch up with you. What? I asked, incredulous. What do you mean? I met Jake, he said, knowing that would get my attention. And I've got a job for you. Next time, we'll find out more about the job that Ralph's talking about. But first, let's consider for a moment the idea of mission. Simply stated, the term mission means a task for which one is sent out to do. Missionaries are those sent ones, men and women who feel a call from God to leave their homes and go into all the world, fulfilling the Great Commission that Jesus laid out in Matthew 28:19 and 20. My wife, Marsha, felt that call long before I met her. It turned out to be a deal breaker in our relationship. She was determined to be a missionary, but she didn't mention it to anyone, particularly the many boyfriends that came her way. She understood, rather wisely, I thought, that any young man she married would have to be driven by the same call that she had heard, but she wanted it to come directly from God and not from any desire to pursue a relationship with her. At the time we met, I was planning to be an English teacher and was immediately kicked me off the short list. Wasn't until 2 years later when God did call me to missions, while I was at university studying for a chemistry test, by the way. And not until Marsha was convinced of my sincerity that she told me her secret. We were married 8 months later, and in August of 2019 we celebrated 50 years together, serving God in various mission fields from Africa to Japan, Hong Kong, Thailand, and Australia. It's a great story, by the way, and if you want to read the whole thing, go to Amazon and look for the book Weaving Sunlight. That wasn't a commercial, incidentally. It's just an important announcement. But back to the concept of mission. I think it's important to understand that this is a calling from God. That said, I need to point out that we are all called to a lifetime of service. If you need chapter and verse for that, look up Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10, where we're told that we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. We all have a mission in life, and it's left to us to discover what that is and where it might take us. Some are called to go to the ends of the earth. Some are called to stay and share Christ's love closer to home. One calling is never above the other. All are the result of our obedience, and so are the very best choice that can be made. Give some thought this week to what your calling is. Can you identify it? Has it been affirmed by Christian brothers and sisters? This is something that needs to be shared with that group of trustworthy pilgrims I mentioned earlier. May God bless you with ears to hear, eyes to see, and a heart to follow. Y'all come back now here. It's called a person of peace. And it refers to an individual or a group of individuals who serves as an entry into that people group. A person of peace doesn't even have to be a believer, but simply be willing to introduce the missionary to the community